Alright guys, so in this video we're going to get started with Express. Now Express is a web framework for building powerful applications with Node.js, and it just allows us to do things 100 times easier than it would without a framework. So things like request and response, creating routes, creating pages, configurations, templates, and so on. So this is the documentation here, expressjs.com, if you want to take a look at it. But we're going to be going through all of this stuff within this course. Now this is a by example course, so instead of explaining stuff through slides, we're going to explain it as we write the code. All right, so let's go ahead and close this out, and I have a projects folder here where I'm going to create a new folder, and we're going to call this vidjot, which is the name of our application. All right, so let's open this vidjot folder up in Visual Studio Code or whatever text editor you're using. I'm also going to I'm just going to use my integrated terminal. So we'll go ahead and just maximize this. And let's go ahead and say view integrated terminal, or you can do control and the tilde character. Okay, so we have our little terminal down here. We're in the vidjot folder. So first thing we want to do is create a package.json file. So a package.json file is basically like a manifest for your application. It has your application name, version, description, all of that stuff, the author. But most importantly, it's what holds your dependencies. So when you're ready to deploy, or you just want to move your application somewhere, it needs to know what dependencies it depends on. Okay, so Express is definitely going to be one of those. So when we install Express, we want to make sure that we attach the -- save flag so that it gets attached to the package.json file. All right, now to create the package.json file, we could create it manually, but that's kind of a waste of time because there's a really easy command called npm init. Okay, so let's go down here and just say npm init, enter. And then it's basically just going to ask us some questions. Okay, so the name of the application, vidjot, that's good. So I'm just going to hit enter. Version, that's good. Description, we'll say, let's see, we'll say app to create video ideas. Now the entry point, the default is index.js, but I like to call my entry point app.js, so I'm going to change that. Test command, we don't need that, we don't need that. All right, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and save it. All right, or just hit enter. And now you can see we have our package.json file. Now the reason you see author, my name, even though you didn't see me type it, is because I have it set I have it set as the default. I also have MIT set as the default for the license. All right, now we want to install Express, so let's go down here and let's go ahead and clear that out. You can clear it with Control L. So now what we want to do is install Express. So to do that, we're going to use npm. I'm going to say npm install -- save. Okay, it's very important that you use that flag, and then Express, and enter. So what this did is, you can see it added it as a dependency to our file here, our package.json. It also created a node modules folder, and it put Express in here, but it also put all of the dependencies of Express, which you can see is quite a bit. And then the dependencies of its dependencies. So there's a lot of stuff now in this node modules folder. Now what we're going to do is create our entry point, which is going to be app.js. So we can close this file for now, and let's create in our root directory here app.js. Okay, and we want to bring in Express, so we're going to create a variable, and we're going to call this Express and set it to require Express. Okay, so whenever you install a module like we just did and you want to bring it in, you just need to use the require function here. All right, once we bring in Express and we require it, we need to create a variable. We're going to call this app, and we're going to set it to the Express function, and that's going to basically initialize our application. All right, then we're going to take that app and we're going to call the listen method, which is basically going to listen on a certain port. Now I like to put the port in a variable, so let's say const port, and we'll set that to 5000. And I'm using const instead of var because I'm using ES6 syntax. A lot of the times in this course, you're going to see me use ES6, including arrow functions and also using promises and things like that. All right, so anything that we don't need Babel for. So in this listen, we want to pass in our port number, which we set to 5000, and then our callback here, we could either do function. Okay, so you can do that syntax if you want, but I'm going to use an arrow function. So we're just going to put a set of parentheses and then put an arrow and then put our curly braces. Okay, and then in here, all I want to do is a console log, and I'm going to use a template string. So I'm going to put in some backticks. These are not single quotes, these are backticks. It's the key to the left of the number 1, and this is called a template string or a template literal, and it allows us to basically include variables without having to concatenate. All right, so in here we're going to say server started on port, and then I want to use that port variable, so we just need to put in a money sign and then curly braces, and we can say port. All right, so this is equivalent to saying console.log and then using quotes and saying server started on port and then concatenating the port variable. Okay, so this is the same exact thing. This is just the ES6 way of doing it. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. Now we should be able to actually run this. So let's go down here. Okay, we'll clear this out and we're going to say node and then the name of our application, or I'm sorry, our entry point file, which is app.js. And we get server started on port 5000. Now to stop this, we can do Control C, and you can also start it with just node app. You don't even have to do the JS. And if we open our browser and we go to our local host, port 5000, so :5000, we're going to get this cannot get / error. And the reason we're getting this is because it's looking for a route. It's looking for the home route. Okay, if we went to /about like that, it'll say can't get about because it doesn't, we didn't define a route for this. So that's what we're going to look into in the next video, is how to create routes to respond to our URLs.